Sometimes we get this a lot, and I'm sure you get it a lot too when you do these, like even the free calls, is that like, hey, you know what? I can't learn this stuff where I am. I got to move to Vegas. I got to move to New York. I got to move to London. I have to wait till I move because then I'll start like getting good with women. Then I'll start going there. And it's like, because I don't live in like a top 10 city of the world, I can't have an awesome social life. I can't conquer that place. I can't be the top guy. It's all an excuse. If anything, from my experience, if you don't know any of this stuff and then you move to a higher value place, it gets harder.
Yeah,
there's
more competitive.
There's more money. There's
more bigger,
Drake
better
at
deals.
Excess. Mm-hmm. There's Tiesto at Zook. There's all of these things working against you. So from your perspective, how do you deal with that? Like when obviously the guy doesn't live in like the biggest city, how do you still help him have success?
In football, they say bring your own blocker. Like Mike Allstott and Christian Okoye, they were like, they didn't wait for the hole, they just made a hole. What I try to say is if you live in a city where there is no scene, you make a scene. Because what happens is like if you live in Spokane, Washington, and there is no scene, what happens is there are pretty girls in Spokane, Washington. If you create a scene, you got no competition, bro. I learned this in Wichita. I created a scene in Wichita, and there was no competition.
Yeah.
None. The funnest place to be was wherever I was every night because people knew I was going to try to get people together. So because there was no scene, I created a scene.
Right.
I think a lot of times it's an advantage. Now, there can be disadvantages in places where you're shamed for having any kind of masculine traits whatsoever. San Francisco, Seattle, place like that. That makes it a little bit harder.
Or like a third world country.
Yeah, or third world country might make it a little bit harder. But I'm telling you, any place, if there is no scene, some of the most fun times I had was in Wichita, Kansas, San Antonio, Texas. Some of the most fun times I had were not in like the biggest cities.
Yeah.
And San Antonio has 1,000,001. I mean, it's pretty big. But that was some of the greatest times I had because I created a scene. If there was no scene, I made a scene. But the thing, if you guys, when we have clients that move to Miami, one of the first things they tell me is like, yo, man, they're really pretty girls here, but like they're so distracted. Like guys will hit them up like you're on a date, like come on my yacht. Come on my yacht is not a big thing in Vegas. Right? Come on my yacht doesn't happen in Dallas. In Miami, girls get the come on my yacht text and they're gone. There's always a bigger, better deal.
They get like 50 of those texts.
Yeah, they get 50 of those. But come on my yacht is the bigger, better deal thing is a big thing in Miami, probably in New York too, right? In Los Angeles. But if you're in a city that doesn't have a big scene, you create a scene, and now there is no BBD. You never have to worry about a bigger, better deal. You're always the bigger, better deal.
Right. And also, with MOA specifically and what we do in this program, we're not the men of theory. We're not the men of culture. We're not any of that bullshit. Everything we focus is on what? Evolutionary psychology, sociology, human nature, intersexual dynamics.
Yeah.
That's universal. It doesn't matter if you're in Wichita or if you're in Miami.
Yeah.
The principles stay the same. So if you understand the principles, that works everywhere.
Yeah, of course, because society existed before there was internet and before there were these megalopolis, huge cities. Society existed, human intersexual dynamics existed for at least the last 200,000 years. Mm-hmm. So if we understand that concept, then of course it's going to work in a big town. It's going to work in a small city.
Right. 100%.
And what a good practicing ground. Like if you do it in a small city and you figure it out, you can bring those skill sets to a big city and then start to implement.
And
Shout out to Warner Robins, Georgia. Yeah. Shout out to Warner Robins, Georgia.
Do you know where you can take everywhere? Social media. And what's the first thing we focus on? Social media.
Step number one, fix your fucking Instagram. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can take, just like a good team takes defense with it on the road in basketball, you can take your social media with you on the road. Like a really attractive woman, she takes her physical attractiveness with on the road. If she's super fine in Dallas, she's super fine in Miami, she's super fine in Los Angeles. She doesn't have to reestablish her hotness. Yeah. It just travels with her like luggage.
Yeah, because we even have a group chat in MOA. We call them like the nomads, where they're the guys who are opposite. They don't have a home. They are a high-tech closer. They have an online business. They don't have a home.
And
they're traveling.
Yeah, every time they show up in a new place, every time they show up in Tulum and go to Taboo or whatever the fuck Voodoo, I forgot Taboo, whatever the restaurant is. Whenever they show up there, the girls don't know if they're a fucking baller, and they don't know if these guys are funny, and they don't know if these guys are good and bad. They don't know anything about them. They have to reestablish their dominance and status every time they go around, except if they put it on social media, then they don't have to. Then it travels with them like luggage. That's why fixing your social media is so important, especially if you travel or if you live in a place that's not super popular.
Yeah, that's a huge excuse that we get is guys like, oh, I can't do this. I'm going to be traveling. I'm like, dude.
That's incredible.
You know how much activity my social media gets when I'm going to the white party in Miami or I'm
not only that.
Puerto Vallarta?
Do you know how much more likely a girl is to say yes when she knows you're going to leave tomorrow? It's her last shot, bro.
yeah,
It's her last shot, bro. Exactly. You've got built-in scarcity because you're traveling, bro. God, you're so lucky.